will you be here? Like, you have kids who play multiple teams at once, different programs, different gyms. They have so much going on logistically. Sometimes they can't even be there. I think that's a huge issue. If you can't be there, you can't help me. You can't be there, you can't help my team out. But those top things: mindset, skill level, and availability. Or are you available? Will you be there?
Yeah. Look at the red dot.
Hey, red dot.
And welcome everybody to the SFBA Sports Performance Podcast show, YouTube, episode 2.
Episode 2.
We made it from 1, we go to 2.
2.
Natural order thing, 1 to 2.
Right. Yep.
Wow, we're here.
We're here again.
Yeah, we're here again. Obviously in a new environment. We were at the gym last time. Now we're here in the office.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's catch up. So what's been going on since the last time we shot the first episode?
A lot. Basketball-wise, family-wise, just a lot going on. We had a great session this morning at the gym. We're really well. Had a couple new players come on. Shout out to them. Shout out to the team. What's up, guys?
Shout out to the guys.
It went well. I think they're going to fit in very well. They very similar skill set, very similar mentality. I think they're going to fit in very well, and they're going to mesh well with the team. So I'm looking forward to the season coming up for sure.
Sure. And I think looking at the team that you have, obviously you've had those players for a number of years now, or most of them.
Yeah.
A few new additions last season during tryouts. And kind of what we're going to go to this episode is going to talk about what are some things that parents and players should understand about tryouts, especially for AAU basketball. And since we just kind of went through that process of evaluating players, notifying families if they were able to make the team or not.
Yeah.
What are some of the things as a coach, like your top 3 things when a player comes in that you're looking to kind of check some boxes to evaluate a player to let them know if you believe they're going to earn a roster spot on your team?
Top 3 things. Well, there's a lot that goes into a tryout. There's a lot that goes into it. I think for me, top 3 things. One would be their mindset coming into it. When I meet them initially, how do they respond to me right off the bat? You can tell if a kid's shy. You can tell if a kid's outgoing. If they're in the right headspace. So some of them are a little shy, a little put off. But I feel like you can get a vibe from the kid and from the parent to see if you feel like they're going to mesh well with your coaching style, with the team that you have. Do they look you in the eye when they meet you? Do they shake your hand? How do they hold themselves? Do they let their parents do all the talking? In an AAU setting, you have to be a fairly confident kid out there on the floor because you're going to have to make pretty bold choices from time to time. So I feel like your mindset is very important. Next thing I feel is skill level, obviously, right? We have a certain level of skill that we want to put forward in the team, and you have to make sure that their skill level matches what your team has. If you're a very point guard heavy team, that guy's going to have to show a multitude of skills that would even make you feel like you can make a change at the point guard level on your team during the trial process. But skills level is very, very important. And the next thing is, are you available? Will you be here? You have kids who play multiple teams at once, different programs, different gyms. They have so much going on logistically. Sometimes they can't even be there. I think that's a huge issue. If you can't be there, you can't help me. You can't be there, you can't help my team out. But those top things: mindset, skill level, and availability. Or are you available? Will you be there?
Yeah, I've got to agree with those as well. And I think my order would be number 1, skill. First of all, can you play this game? I don't know who you are, so it's kind of hard for me to like judge your mindset within, if it's just the tryout for the day.
Sure.
But I can kind of see where you are like in the first 5 minutes. Like you walk into a basketball gym at 24 Hour Fitness, or you go to the park and you're like, yeah, he can't play. He can't. He's good. You want to run? So it's like, you can kind of tell. So I look at, can a kid play the game?
Sure.
Obviously we'll go through some skill stuff. We'll look at their finishes at the rim. Can they make layups? Can they shoot the ball properly? Ball handling, footwork, defense, all those things. Passing skills, just knowledge of the game, basically. Once I kind of see that, I kind of go through and I just kind of check boxes off. And it's more checking off names, not boxes, actually.
Right.
And I'll ask the kid, what's your name? And if it's a kid I feel like can play, I'll check like this color, like a green like marker.
Right.
If they don't, I'll put a red one. So that I know, like, okay, I'm going to stop evaluating this child because I know skill-wise they don't have what it takes.
Sure.
So then I focus on the kids that have the green check mark next to it.
Right.
So skill. As we go along the process of evaluating, now I'm looking at kind of how they act. Is this kid out there competing?
Yeah.
Are they being lazy? Are they jogging through drills? When we do our scrimmages during the tryout process, are they just trying to show off?
Right.
If their team that they're scrimmaging with isn't doing well, are they pouting?
Right.
What's the body language like? And that's when you can kind of see, like, mentally,
Their mindset.
where are they when things are horrible? I wish what I could do, and maybe this just popped in my head, is we'll say, hey, we're hosting tryouts for our future team, maybe like next year.
Right.
And then if you're interested, fill out this application.
Sure.
And then send us your schedule for your school team. We'll come and watch you. Like, won't tell you when. Just send a schedule. We'll pop in and look at it.
Absolutely.
And kind of just say, okay, and if this kid played a game, and I'm going to look for, like, okay, what's the one game I know they're going to lose, right?
Sure.
And I want to see how you deal through adversity, not like against the weakest team you can play.
Of course.
And I want to see what your mindset is. Are you pouting? Are you, like, sitting on the bench? Are you blaming everybody?
Right.
And so when you look at that process, like, I want to also mentor the child as well and kind of help provide that. But again, for putting together a competitive team, I want to put together a team of players I feel mentally have that, like, ability to focus and stay ready during tough times.
Right.
That could be through a multitude of things and reasons why.
Right.
But skill, how you focus, and then, like you said, I think at the end of the day, are you here?
Are you here?
If you're not gonna be here, then don't do it. And
Don't.
if you're like, well, I can show up for half the days.
No.
When I send an email
Right.
saying we're gonna invite your child to take on one of the roster spots, it's like an entire page, a list. I don't know if you've seen this, but it's
I've
an
seen
entire
it. I've seen
list,
it. Yeah.
and it's got everything from, like, maintain high academic expectations, show up to the workouts, and this, be it here, prioritize our season.
Right.
Now, again, you can say that's right or wrong, whatever kids are do. If we're asking you to play AAU basketball with us, this is what we're asking.
Right.
If it works out for you, let's go.
Let's
if
do
it doesn't, hey,
that's okay.
more power to you.
Yeah.
It's cool. At least we know from the start.
Right.
Right? And we can decide to go where we need to from there. But again, if you can't play, kind of like need to check you off the list.
Right.
If you can, I see how you deal mentally. And if you can do those two things,
Right.
can you make the schedule?
Right.
Well, I can only make half the tournaments. Well, I'm sorry.
Right.
That's not going to work. But I think ideally, those are the three things I kind of like to go off of when I'm evaluating a player.
Yeah.
As a parent, again, this is you, the parent.
Yeah.
What do you look for when, if you're going to a program and you're online and you're like, I'm looking for an AU program. What is this? I need to find something.
Yeah.
Being a coach that's in it, what are some things you believe parents should be looking for, and what are some questions you think they should be asking coaches and program directors when going to try out for these teams?
Well, how many kids are on the team?
20.
I've
seen it.
I've seen it. How many kids are on the team? Especially if it's after the tryout has already happened. Do you think my kid's going to play? Again, what's the cost? I think that's a big one that some parents neglect. What the schedule is going to look like. I feel like something else as well. Those are kind of just like a base. And I think after you ask those questions, you're going to figure out real fast if this is something that you feel like you should do or you shouldn't do. I think a lot of the time parents want to put their kids on the AAU club because their friends are there, not because their kid's ready for it. And I think that's a huge mistake to do, because you're going to set your kid back potentially a little while because he's playing at a level that he shouldn't be playing at. So that's the first thing. Is my kid ready for AAU basketball? Are they ready for it? Are they ready for the challenge? Are they ready for the grind? Are they ready for the competition? And I just want honesty from the coach at that point to let me know yes or no. And if no, what can they do to get better, to prepare for it so we can try it again next year? I think that's something that's important.
Yeah. When looking at a player that wants to try out for AAU basketball, and if I'm imagining what it's like to be a parent, I'm thinking, number one, how much does this cost?
Yeah.
Is this going to set me back financially?
Yeah.
Like, do I need to worry about rent and
do.
paying my mortgage
Sure.
and feeding my kids? Because those are the priority.
Yes.
Like, pick and choose what's right.
Right.
Like,
Right.
like you can go to the park and do this for free. Like you
Right.
don't need me to do this.
Right.
But if you do want to get into this form of basketball, understand it does require a financial obligation.
Yes.
It does. Gym time for us is super expensive.
Yes.
It's not cheap. People think like, oh, you get these gyms. Like
No.
forking over, for just a few weeks, $60,000.
Yes.
I'm not talking about for the year. I'm talking about for a matter of like maybe 8 weeks.
Right.
I'm giving somebody $60,000 to
Yes.
use their gym.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 52 weeks in a year, right?
Yes.
So I'm talking about maybe 8 or 9 of them. Like
Man.
people don't understand how much money this stuff costs. And
Right.
yeah, some people are like, I can get gyms cheaper. Let me know where.
Where?
Tell me
Please
where.
show us, because we'll go.
I'm there.
Believe me.
I'm there. But
All right.
this stuff is not cheap. Tournaments,
All right.
they're not cheap. Obviously, having coaches, you can go the volunteer route, but understand at the same time, if we're having a program and we want our coaches to commit to the program
Right.
and to be here, they have to have the financial incentive to show up because they also have lives.
Of course.
They have bills to pay.
Yeah.
And if we're saying commit to the season to coach these kids, we have to compensate them,
Right.
right? To some degree. I'm not saying this is, going to make people rich. But again, if people have bills to pay and I'm saying give us your time,
Right.
I need to create a transaction.
Of course.
Your time now equals this amount of money, right?
Yes.
So that's also important. But there's such a huge cost that goes into just creating an AU program. Now, you can always do it for free. You go to the park and just have your tournaments and whenever kids show up. But most parents are looking for, I need to be in the gym. I need to have this. I need to have that.
Could be in the gym.
This stuff costs money.
It does.
It does. So again, how expensive is this?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I asked first.
Yeah.
Number 2, I want to know, can I make the things that you're asking us to make? Again, if I have work until this time at night, but practices are at this time and I can't do it,
Right.
I understand it's not going to work out.
Can't do it.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And again, it's not right or wrong. It's just
No.
if you can't meet the demands of the schedule, then that program doesn't work for you. Doesn't mean no program will.
Sure.
And then I think number 3 at the end of the day is, will my kid play?
It's a huge
I
one.
want my kid to play basketball.
It's a huge one.
Now, I'm not saying my kid needs to play because I just want them to and they deserve minutes because I'm that parent that says, I paid for this, so I didn't come all this way to watch. What I'm saying is if you believe my child has the ability to play against other players in this travel club basketball format
Right.
and can be competitive, all right, I just want to know if you think they can do this. And number 2, if they have the opportunity to play.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going to tell me that they do, and that as long as my child puts forth the effort and demonstrates that they're able to follow through on what we're teaching
Yeah.
and meet the demands and expectations, then cool. They should be able to earn playing time.
Earn playing time.
Now, if you're telling me that my kid's got a bunch of stuff to work on,
Right.
they lack this, and this, and this, and
Right, you
plus
have a
there's
list.
a few more things I've got before you that they need to work on.
Sure.
And yeah, we'll take them. I'm sure they'll work hard. Just tell me you're not going to play them.
Please.
Right? Because then at that point, what my next question should be, what is it that my kid needs to improve on?
Right.
What are some things that they can do so that the next time they come to a tryout or try out for a team, they're prepared to try out and compete
Yes.
for playing time, not
Right.
just to be there to fill up a roster, to
Right.
fill some demand that you need.
Right.
What are some things and experiences you've had with parents who you've had to tell, I'm sorry, your kid's not ready for this level of basketball? And what are some things you would recommend to a parent that wants to find things that they can do to get them ready for it?
First, I'll say that is a very difficult conversation to have with parents. That basically saying that their child isn't ready for something that they may feel that their child is ready for. It's not a very easy conversation. It's not one that we generally like to have, but if we're talking about truths, which is what we're trying to put out there and make sure you have all the information you need in order to better prepare them for it, that's kind of what we have to do. For me, I think the first thing is just being completely honest with them and transparent as far as where their child is. Last season, I had a time with each parent. I let them know what their kid needs to work on, what I feel like they need to do to get better. And if they had any questions for me, revolved around playing time or any skill work or just anything in general, I give an opportunity to tell me or ask me any question that they had. That's the key to your child getting better is just taking the information that someone is giving you about your child, taking a step back and really asking yourself, how do I feel about that? You're not going to like it because you were critiquing your child in something that you feel that they either are very good at, or you feel that they're adequate at, or there's always going to be that my kid's better than that kid. That's just something that's going to come up. But I think if you take an objective approach to it, you're going to say to yourself, I see what he's saying. I see what they're saying. Again, we're not doing it to be mean. That's not our goal. Our goal is to not make kids cry. Our goal is not to upset you. But our goal is to put the best team that we can out there. And can your child be a part of that team? Are they a part of that team? That's going to basically be how their skill level is, and if they're being able to contribute to the team. So I think that's most important, just being completely and utterly honest with them and letting them know what their kid needs to work on. But they have to take the information and, use it and just kind of understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, I completely agree. And for me, I think one of the hard parts is I'll tell a parent, I don't feel like your child is ready to play this level of basketball, which I don't have a problem doing. And then if they're like, okay, cool, like what do they need to do? And I list a few things that we do offer.
Yeah.
I don't want to come off as like, well, there's another way I can take your money. So
right. It's hard to. Right.
I have this and this. But I tell them like, no, I mean, if I have the time, these are things I'm willing to do to help your child.
Right.
Work to prepare to play this level of basketball, whether it's, how they move, strength and conditioning, speed work, mobility and stability stuff outside of just skill development, right?
Right.
And then we talk about the skill development where we're working on ball handling, footwork, passing, shooting, things like that. So it's almost like you're spending all day with me. You're like,
right.
Okay,
I go on, what's going on? Sure.
But for me, I try to provide myself as a resource for families or send them to other people that can be a resource.
Uh-huh.
I don't need every child and I don't want every child.
Right.
Because there's too many,
right.
and spreading myself too thin, I don't help anybody.
Right.
Which I've had to learn, unfortunately, over the years.
Yeah, hard to be learned the hard way. Sure.
So one of the things I think that is beneficial about the community that we live in is there's a ton of basketball resources.
Right.
You have a ton of trainers, coaches, programs, and I think a lot of them do a great job.
Right.
Helping develop and support players and families. And so if you're looking for somebody to actually work with your child, it shouldn't be hard to find.
Right.
And if you don't know any, like even me, like I'll have a kid that'll try out, and if I feel like he is good enough to play basketball at the AU level, I just don't have a spot for him, or I've got too many kids like him.
Sure.
And I don't want to create a log jam and just put them on the bench.
Right.
I'll refer them to other programs I think that are looking for players that I feel like do a decent job. Because at the end of the day, it's about putting the child in the best position to be successful.
Right.
And just holding onto a kid on my roster, like, I got this one more point guard back here.
Yeah, man. You have
like,
no idea.
Ready for this.
You don't know what's happening. You know what's coming. You have no idea what we got second half for you.
But
right.
Yeah, so that's one part. The kid is ready. And if they're not, I tell them, hey, here's some things I got to get down. Now, when my issue comes down is when you do tell them that.
Right.
And again, these are opinions that we're giving families.
Right.
Some of these kids I've never seen before.
Sure.
Maybe I have, but if I haven't, I just go off what I saw.
Right.
And this is what they do. They can't make layups. Follow through, footwork, shooting form, ball handling. They're traveling on every dribble.
Right.
To the extreme. And then you tell them they're not ready. And the next question they say is, okay, well, can you refer to some other programs we can try out for? I just lose my mind.
Yeah.
I don't express it verbally.
Of course.
But in my mind, I'm just like, did you hear what I just said?
Yeah.
Like, your child isn't ready. It's like if I'm going to apply to Stanford.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, I didn't get in. Is there another really, really good university I can apply? Like, well, I didn't get to Stanford. Let me try Harvard.
Right.
they might be taking.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's if you're going to try to get into a situation where the competition is rigorous.
Yes.
And it's super competitive.
Yeah.
And you've got to play at what's expected to be a really high level of basketball. And we're telling you, I don't believe your child is ready. Not just because if they get a little more work, like they're not ready for maybe even the sport yet. Like, let them learn how to bounce the ball. Let them learn how to catch. Like, this kid's footwork is off. He keeps tripping over himself. And I'm not trying to be me. I'm just saying we see that athletically, some people just don't know how to move certain ways yet.
Yeah.
They can learn.
Yes.
How do you deal situations with a parent that just seems to not want to deal with the fact that their child may not be ready, and instead of looking for resources to get them better, just want to dive into it.
Well, again, I think it's just keep trying to make them understand, but there is going to be a point where you just have to say your piece and maybe just agree to disagree. And then you will go off and you will do your thing, and they will go off and do whatever they feel is best for their child. And you both have to be okay with that. That will happen. And again, we're not telling you these things because our goal is to make you feel bad or to make your child feel bad. That's not our goal. Our goal is just, like you said, to tell you what we see based off of the experience that we have with what we do. This is our assessment of your child, and the information that you're getting at the end of the day, you can do with what you like. Either you can try to find something that your next question can be, okay, thank you for that. What can I do to help better prepare them? Do you have any skill work? Do you do one-on-ones? Do you know anybody that does do skill work? Is there anyone that you know that does one-on-ones, as opposed to saying, well, my kid needs to play, I'm going to go to another AAU program? Because there is a program that might take them. Now, is your child ready for it? Probably not. Will your child see the floor a lot? Probably not. Are you going to be okay with that? Probably not. You're going to drive all that way and pay all that money for your child to sit on the bench. You're probably at the end of the day not going to be very happy about it. So I just think it's a matter of saying your piece, doing your best to make sure you understand what they are saying in return, right? Receiving that information and saying, I understand. Thank you for coming out. I appreciate your time. And then you guys just both go your separate ways. And that's basically the way you kind of have to play it. You can't play it really any other way.
Yeah. And I think to go along with that, being honest with parents and kids, I think, is super important.
Yeah.
Understanding where they are and giving them your assessment. And again, maybe we're wrong. Who knows?
Be.
I could
Sure.
look at your kid and maybe that's just the worst day they've ever had in basketball.
I've
And
had
you come back the next
situations
day
like
and
that.
we're just like,
Yeah.
I didn't take that guy.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But if you feel like your kid really is ready for that level of basketball, again, it's your kid. Do what you want to do.
Of course.
Right? We're just trying to give you our best assessment of where we feel they are.
Right.
Because, again, it is expensive.
Yes.
I'm not going to lie about that. It does cost some money. It does require time, a lot of your time.
Yes.
You know, the amount of families that get into it, it's like we didn't realize how much time commitment, and it just becomes their life.
Right.
Good or bad, that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do this form of basketball, you know, even for us as coaches, you know, you as a parent, like how much of your time do you just give to other people's kids?
Yeah.
You know,
8 o'clock in the morning.
Your own family, it's
Yeah.
a lot, right? And so everyone has to make a commitment.
Yeah.
You know, and for me, having to drive like an hour back and forth every day, and people are like, I can't make it. I'm like, I live further than any of you, and I'm here every day.
Sure.
What's your excuse? But I also know you have kids and families. But in my mind, I'm still like, what's your excuse? You know, but yeah, just realizing if you believe that your child has the ability and in your heart you want to go for it, cool. But again, are you asking yourself honestly,
Right.
based off of what you see, not just what you want to believe?
Sure.
If you think your kid has the potential to do it, then go for it. But if you don't, and you're listening to what we're saying or some other coach is saying, again, maybe there's something there.
Yeah.
Right. So I think if we can be as honest as possible, like you said, you know, we want to try to drive home the point, but at some point, if it's just not coming through,
Sure.
it's cool. We can agree to disagree.
Of course.
Let your child do as you wish.
Yes.
You know, and then we move on and hope everything works out for the best.
Yeah.
Moving on to now, if you feel like a child is ready,
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of benefits to playing AAU basketball. If you think that a kid can compete at this level, what are some of the benefits that you would list off? Like if you're telling a parent and you see a kid that's potential, what are like your top 3 things that you're telling them? Like, man, AAU basketball would be great for your child because A, B, and C.
Well, first thing is just the growth that they can have. I think the competition level is so much greater at this level. There's some exceptions that are a little higher. CYO, right? Division I, right? A solid high school program. Again, depending on the age, of course. But I think just a competition that they're going to face, just a skill that they're going to see is going to better prepare them for their future in basketball. I think that's 1. 2, I think just the experience of it. I mean, I remember he used to drive the kids in a
15
15 passenger van to Vegas.
Bags everywhere,
And,
food trashed
you know,
up, Pasha. I still remember all the garbage left
you
in there
know,
that I had to clean up. It was
you
good
know,
times, though.
oh yeah, you know, like you said, you think back to it, and you know, it's just something that you had a fond memory of that, and just the community of it, the connections that you develop with these families. I've been very fortunate to have the families that I have, and the way they get along, it all translates to the kids. It all kind of permeates through them, and the joy that it brings to have people who are like-minded with kids who are like-minded coming together, it can be a powerful thing, and it just creates this great community that you can build from. You know, the whole it takes a village saying. In the basketball community, if you have a good set of parents, you know, good coach, good kids, I mean, it's just real. It feels really great, you know.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about testing your limits. You know, and that if we're looking at taking a child and a group of other children,
Yeah.
and we got food. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We're hungry. Looking at a group of children and parents that have a common goal,
Yep.
a common focus, like-minded to a certain degree,
Yeah.
and saying, let's go for it.
Yeah.
Right. And then putting them through a situation where they can develop, train, improve, grow, and then seeing how far they can go. I think a lot of that just translates to life.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, first of all, are these kids, like I said, number one for me, do they have the skill to play?
Sure.
And then number two, do they have the mental focus to keep it going?
Right.
And then number three, can they be here? And if those things check off the box, let's go for it. And if we're looking at these players and saying, hey, we're going to test you, we're going to push you,
Yeah.
we're going to try to develop you, we're going to compete, families, does this work for you? You all say yes. And then seeing how far those kids can go,
Yeah.
seeing them go through the ups and downs, the wins, the losses, the failures, the struggles, the success. I think a lot of that just translates to life. And if you take these kids that have the tools to be successful
Sure.
in this environment, I think that just prepares them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
Because you take them, now you're looking at dealing with frustration,
Yeah.
working with other people, dealing with difficult situations,
Right.
dealing with competition. I had a conversation with a parent this morning who was talking about, like, you know, the whole, you know, everyone gets a certificate, you know, lifestyle. It's like,
Right.
some kids just have to fail. Like, if your kid didn't win, they don't get a medal. Sorry, it's just what it is. Like,
That's it.
try again
No
next time.
participation trophies
You know,
here.
oh, but they feel bad. It's like, okay, so if your kid failed a math test
Sure.
and you come in, my kid failed. Like, I know they got every question wrong, but they feel bad. Can you just pass them?
Of course not.
But
No.
then we look at sports as different, right? Now, again, sports is, you know, it's fun, everything else. But if we're really trying to teach something, what do you teach by just giving them the opportunity without earning it? So I think one of the benefits is if you take a group of kids and families that have the ability to compete at this level, it opens so many doors just to allowing them to become hopefully the best version of themselves as they start to go through being teenagers and hopefully adults that do great things in life. So for me, that's probably the benefit.
Yes.
Like, you know, the medals, the wins and losses and the trophies, that's cool.
Right.
But like when I walk down and I see a player I used to coach, or they'll email me, and now all of a sudden this kid, which makes me feel old now, is a father.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
Right.
wow. Now you're teaching that little kid to be,
To be.
and I remember you, but
Right.
it's like, I'm hoping that some of the things that we were able to teach when they were younger now translate to who they are as adults.
Yeah.
And now that they have little ones,
Right.
that they're able to kind of translate some of those messages into the child. And I'm not saying we're the end all be all, but if like 1% of what you are today is because of us, that 1% can go a long way.
It can.
And that's, to me, is what the benefit comes in.
For sure.
If a child is ready, because
Yeah.
now it's about building who they are and their character for the future.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely wholeheartedly feel if you feel like your child is ready or if they're able to compete, try it out.
Try it out.
If it works out for you. And if not, again, you could listen, you could not.
Yeah. You could decide for yourself.
Yeah.
Again, this is not, again, I want to make sure we're all clear. We are completely objective when we're assessing your child. This is not in any way, shape, or form to discourage you guys from playing basketball in any way. to discourage you guys from trying out to play any AAU club. It's not what we're trying to do. All we're trying to do is give you some information that you can hopefully use to make the best judgment for your child's basketball development. That's all we're trying to do. I'm not trying to do anything else because we can't do anything else in that tryout phase. We're trying to give you the tools you need or the critique that you need to move forward so your child can actually enjoy basketball. Because again, it could be very demoralizing for a kid to go to practice every time you have a practice and then go to a tournament and then sit on the bench at the very end. They don't want to talk. They're not engaged. And you're going to get upset. They're going to be upset. And again, I've heard this many times. It's a long car ride home that you guys have
all
to
this way
sit
to come
there
just for this
and discuss it.
Should have just told me my kid wasn't going to play.
So again,
right,
honesty is the best policy, right?
We'll tell you.
When it comes to this, we're going to be as honest as we can to make sure you understand before you get into that situation, this is what you need to do and this is what you should work on. And hopefully the next year, if you dedicate yourself, you can come back and compete for a spot. Not it will be given to you, but you can compete for an opportunity to play. Because again, playing time is earned, not given. There are no participation trophies in AAU club ball. None. You do not get anything. There's been tournaments that we've won all 3 games and we got nothing because of point differential and all this other stuff that happens, right? So I just think it's very important to understand that just take what you can from anything that you're given and try to apply it and try to be objective, which is very difficult as a parent to be objective, right? But just try to be from the outside looking in. If I say your kid needs to work on his left-hand layup, you'll know if he needs to work on his left-hand layup. If I say I see the look, it's not always true. I do understand that. It's not always true. You try to give them information, whether they choose to use it or understand it is a whole nother thing. So I do understand that. But again, you try to be honest and you hope that they will take what you're saying and it holds a little bit of weight. Because again, we want your kids to succeed, but in the right atmosphere.
I was thinking, can you ever be too honest? Like, parent walks up, how do you think my kid did? Man, he's the worst one on the court.
You can be too honest.
Man, I don't even know why you brought him here today.
Right.
Like, what's going on? Like,
right.
No. But sometimes I do wonder if a parent brings their kid to try out and they just are clearly not ready. I think they're just getting into this AAU world and finding out about it.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to let them know, hey, I don't feel like your kid is ready. I understand you probably heard about this because your child's friends
right.
play basketball, and they do this thing called club travel AAU basketball.
Right.
It seems fun because their kids keep doing it.
Right.
I want to try to get my kid into it and don't realize actually what it is.
Right.
So I think just giving people the information, hey, this is what it's about. Check out episode 1. Obviously,
yeah.
That's what it is.
Right.
That's where you'll learn more about what this whole club travel basketball thing is about.
Right.
For me, I want to kind of go to one last piece and kind of look at red flags as a coach. And for me as a coach, there are some red flags that I tend to look for, and it isn't always from the players. It's usually from the parents. And it's either something they say, kind of the way they act, how they're, on the sidelines communicating. One of the red flags for me is if I tell a parent that I won't be taking your kid, or I give them an indication that maybe I won't, and then they come to me, well, clearly my son's the best player here. Like,
sure.
And I'm like, well, clearly you and I disagree.
Right.
So before we disagree again, I need you to leave. Like this will be the last disagreement we have because I ain't taking your child. So that's one. I think number 2 is everybody, I think, is responsible for each other. So when you're wearing, one of our jerseys or a T-shirt with our logo on it, you represent us as a whole. Yeah. And even for our coaches, it's important that we let people know that what you do doesn't just impact you; it impacts everybody. So if I tell parents, like, when you go to these tournaments, be ready to come across a lot of passionate parents, right?
Extremely
passionate. Right. Now, I feel that's a positive way to say it, but you get some people that are just crazy.
Sure.
Some parents that go out there and just start cussing out, fourth graders.
Yeah.
And saying all this. I saw a mom one time at a tournament, like, I think it was the first time we went to Vegas, and I'm watching some other games, and she like stuck her leg out to try to trip one of the kids. And I was
No.
like, "You've got to be kidding me! Like this is
No.
crazy."
Right.
We've seen people fight at events.
I've
So
seen
people are
that.
like, "I'm
Yeah.
just passionate." Like if that's not passion, that's just irresponsibility.
Sure.
And if that's who you are
Right.
at a child's event,
Right.
don't be here. Go home.
Right.
Like for me, so watching parents interact with their kids, when we're doing tryouts or in practices and how they communicate with them, like, yeah, you're going to say stuff to your kids.
Yeah.
As much as you want parents to just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I understand there's going to be some interaction.
Of course.
But if you're like that one parent that like stands at the baseline under the basket, arms folded, yelling at your child 100% of the time, running
Right.
back and forth over here, looking like, you're wondering if the stock market's about to crash. Like you just have that. I'm
That
like,
intensity.
I was like, you need to let it go. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, like, yeah, I'm just competitive. It's like, yeah, you can be competitive, but you also need to understand that you're at a child's event, and the fact that you may be over passionate about what's going on means I may not be able to trust your ability to control yourself at an event that we're at.
Yeah.
Which can lead to an argument, fights, and then a tournament director saying, "Hey, coach, I need you to check your families because they're being rude.
Right.
They're over here like using, obscene language. They're over here throwing stuff. They're going crazy. This one mom, this one dad is blah blah blah." And they'll never know who those people are,
Sure.
but they'll see our name
Right.
as a program. And so for me, it's also about protecting, as the NFL, the brand, protect the brand, the shield.
Protect the shield.
So it's not just for for us, but it's also what you do on the 9th grade team or the 8th grade team affects the kids on the 4th grade team.
Of course.
So a couple of red flags, like I said, I have are just like, can you act right?
Sure.
Can you deal with your child being coached?
Yes.
If I don't play your kid,
Right.
and I've had parents come up to me, it's like, yeah, you didn't play my kid. Like, why? Like, yeah, because his attitude was horrible.
Sure.
Body language is on the bench like this.
Right.
So maybe I did take you, but I know next season I won't.
Right.
And not even because of the kid, just because as a parent, I understand you're not willing to let your child be coached,
Sure.
be taught, be held accountable.
Right.
And if I can't do that, then I can't do my job.
Sure.
So those are just some of my things. I don't know, like what are some things you look at?
Well, I think there's a difference between being supportive, right, and being critical. It's one thing to say, "Come on, man, keep going, keep pushing," right, giving them positive reinforcement. Again, your kid better than I do, in a lot of instances, forever. And it's your kid, how they are motivated. But again, you have to understand that we are trying to do a job, and we're trying to do the job the best of our ability. And if the things that you're doing are counteracting what we're trying to teach them, it becomes confusing for them because they want to respect you as their parent, but they also have to respect us as their coaches. If you're going to put your kid in AAU or club basketball, please allow the coach to coach. Let him do his job. That's why you picked the program. Out of all the programs that you could have selected, you picked that program for your kid to go to.
Or you can coach your kid yourself, make your own team, and I will enjoy playing against you.
You could.
I will wait for the day where we can play against you.
You
All
could.
right?
You're right. Yeah.
That would be fun.
Right.
I've never had that experience, but if I ever did,
Yeah.
I would relish it.
Yeah.
I'd be like, you gave so much feedback. You had that one play you said was the go-to.
Oh man.
I want to see it.
Yeah,
I want to see it. I want to see the play.
Oh man. I just really hope parents understand again what it takes to do what we do. And if you allow us to do and again, that comes from your evaluation of us too. If you feel like the way we coach and our message isn't going to gel well with your child, then there's other programs that you can go to. So again, available. Are you going to be available? If you know you can't be there, our practice time is from 6 to 7:30 or 7:30 to 9. Could be Monday through Thursday. If you can't be there and you know you can't, don't sign up. It's because it becomes difficult for everybody to manage because again, we hear the other parents say, "Hey, where's this kid? Where are they? They never come. They're never here. Coach Ken, what's going on?" It just creates an atmosphere of uncertainty. And when you have a long season, you need to have that certainty of who's going to be on site. And again, I know things come. Things happen. I have a family. I understand that. and there's some unforeseen things that may come up. But again, can you be there consistently? If you can't, understandable. Yeah. So that's a red flag for me if you know you can't be there. Again, be supportive. Try not to be too critical. If you picked me to coach your son or your daughter, let me coach them. Just let me do the job. I'll do the job to the best of my ability, I promise you. And if you feel like I'm not doing the job, there's other programs that you can go to as well. Do I want you to leave? No, not necessarily. But again, if you feel like I'm not doing what you need me to do in order to coach your son, because again, sometimes you will find kids and parents that just don't feel that you're the right fit for them. And that's fair. Mm-hmm. But also on our end, we can say the same thing in reverse. We don't feel like the child or the family is going to be a good fit for what we have already intact, right? We want to make sure we maintain that cohesiveness that we've developed over the years of play. And we want to make sure that we're, aware of that.
Yeah, so I think that's a lot.
It is a lot.
I think we hit people with hopefully a good amount of information.
Hope so.
That we touched on a few topics from what are some of the things that we look for when we come in to actually evaluate a player. Mm-hmm. You can look in the top 3.
Yep.
Talk about, do you have the skill to play? Right. Are you going to be available? Mm-hmm. What's your mindset?
Yep.
Number 2, looking at what families should be asking. How much does this cost? What's the schedule?
Right.
Do you even know if you can make all these things? Is it within your budget?
Yeah.
Obviously, there's probably a lot more questions. Like, I want to know, who the coaches are, the mindset of them.
Right.
That's probably a deeper discussion. But I think at the face value of it, just understanding, can you afford all this? Does it work for you? Is it what you want to do? Is your kid ready for it? Are you ready for it as a parent, as a family?
As a family.
If you have multiple kids that do all kinds of things. I can't tell you how many parents like, oh, I got these kids and have this event and this event.
Right.
I'm just like, I wish I could help you, but this is our schedule.
Right.
I can't make up a schedule for each individual person.
Impossible.
At some point, either you got to say this works or it doesn't.
Right.
But overall, if it is something that families think and coaches think that kids are ready for, again, there's numerous benefits to it.
Absolutely.
And I think the biggest one is just, creating a sense of, work ethic,
yes,
community, teamwork.
Yep.
At the heart of it,
yes.
Obviously may not always work out that way, but if we're looking at just developing, positive values within kids,
right.
I think at the heart of sports, that's something that translates to just life. If we can do that the right way, then it just creates something that goes beyond the sport itself.
Yeah.
And I think at the end, that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I don't know. I think that's enough for today.
I think so. I think we will.
I can go on more, but
we always go. We can always go on longer. Again, there's always sub conversations you can have based off this one broad topic. Mm-hmm. Again, last thing I'll say, ask questions. Be open to suggestion. And just talk, please. Talk. I have no problem talking to parents about anything that they want to discuss with their child. If you want to understand better why I did something, ask me. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you what my mindset was. I'll tell you what I was thinking and why I did it that way. Again, it's not about agreeing or disagreeing with me. It's about us coming to an understanding. You ask a question, I'm giving you an answer. I'm not giving you the answer because I think you're going to like it or I hope you like it. I'm just giving you exactly what I was thinking at that time. I'm giving you exactly what I felt at that time. And I feel like a lot of times people get into this space where it's I need an answer and it has to make sense to me. It may not make sense to you. Mm-hmm. You may not agree with it. Nope. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It just means that was my answer for what I did. And as long as there's a mutual respect there and you guys can speak openly about what's happening, again, you can agree to disagree and continue to push forward to your common goal, because obviously if you guys are there, you all have the same goal. So I think that's important. Please talk. Please be open. Ask questions if you don't understand something, and be okay with an answer that you might not agree with or you might not want to hear. And if you can do that, you can, get along and make sure your guys stay on the path to where you guys are going.
Sure. Well, good information.
Yeah.
I think it was good information.
I do as well.
So I think we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Again, thanks for everybody for checking out episode 2
Yeah.
of the SFBA Sports
SFBA.
Performance Podcast.
Yes, sir.
Hope you enjoyed episode 1 prior to this and now episode 2.
Yeah.
Check it out. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, share, tell other people.
All that
Text
stuff.
this link to other people,
That's
whatever
right.
you got to do.
Yeah.
Let them know what we're trying to do because we're just trying to provide some good information for all the families and players out there
Yeah.
and bring value in the world of youth basketball and sports performance.
And if you guys have any questions that you guys would like for us to answer, please let us know what they are. We'll comment on them, let you know what we think. And again, hopefully we'll give you some answers that you either want to hear or don't want to hear. But we can definitely discuss it for sure.
All right. Well, that's it. We're done.
That's it. I think so.
All right, folks.
All right.
Check out episode 3 later on. Peace.
Peace.